Exorcism is a ritual. Every culture, every religion, they all use different methods. It's going to take all of them.
Don't be scared.
We've met before.
Mother.
Well, I'm terrified. I don't know if you are, but wow, that's officially spooky season as the countdown to Halloween is officially on. And what better way to prepare than to take in a horror movie? The Exorcist may be a title you're familiar with. Well, guess what? It is back, and our resident movie critic Chip Hansen's here with Chip's director's cut. That was pretty aggressive, and I like it. If you like horror, this is a good one.
Yes, it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense.
So is this a prequel or a sequel to the early 70s movie?
This is a direct sequel to the 1973 classic. Ellen Burstyn returns, reprising her role as Chris McNeil, the mother of Reagan, the original Linda Blair, who was possessed.
Yeah.
And she's written a book about her experiences. She's estranged from her daughter now, and she's pulled back into this world when Victor's young daughter, Angela, goes missing and comes back, and something's not quite right.
So there's two girls involved, right?
Yes, Angela and her friend Catherine go off into the woods after school, each having told the other family they're going to their house, and it ensues.
And here's some video of it. You know, I've never seen the original. I'm sad to admit that. But the music is familiar. Ellen Burstyn, you mentioned her. She's familiar. It's cool that she's back for this one.
Yes, it really is. And you know, I think this film, I liked it more than I thought I would.
Okay.
It really, I think it pays homage to the original appropriately. It's paced more like a suspense thriller. There's not a lot of schlocky horror. There's not a lot of gratuitous gore and violence. It really kind of harkens back to the original. I really, really like this movie.
Good. Now, when you think about horror movies, you know, you can't just slap a bunch of scary scenes because people are not going to buy into that. There's a certain psychology and a certain way they have to put these movies together. Somebody who doesn't watch a lot of horror movies, I wouldn't notice that, but you study film, you know that. There is a psychology behind it. What's the secret sauce?
There sure is, and it's all about the jump scare. Now, jump scares, too many of them, is like ending every sentence with an exclamation point. You're no longer yelling. They got to be placed well. It's about the ebb and flow of tension. And this movie does that really well. They use what's called an anticipatory setup. And we've got a frame from a scene that shows exactly how that works. Now, in this frame, with the focus and the masking on the edges and the light and dark contrast, the director is pulling your eyes down that hallway into that room. You anticipate something's going to happen there. Now, is it or is it not? That's how horror works. So he builds the tension in the scene by pulling you into that scene and making you expect to see something there. Now, when we watch the full clip in context, you'll see how it works to build tension. You'll see him enter the bedroom, and as he enters the bedroom, there are several places where something could happen. Now, here comes the shot we just looked at, where he looks down that hall and we expect something to happen. All of our attention is focused here. It's his look of outward regard. We don't know what's coming until right at the very end. Bam, it's jump scare time. Tension is relieved, it comes out of nowhere. And that's what this movie does really well, Josh. It builds the tension, and the jump scare is not about frightening you. The jump scare is about releasing that tension. You get a breath, and then you're ready for the tension to build again. This movie does that really well.
And I am so jumpy, that made me scared. But it's interesting, you make a good point, because when you see and watch these movies, any movie for that, your mind kind of wants to finish the last part of the movie. The scene that's being set. Your mind wants to, I know it's going to happen, I'm waiting for it, but then when they don't make that happen, they kind of trick you. That's when it gets interesting.
You can either pay off that setup or not pay it off. If you don't pay off the setup, the tension just continues to build. And you're waiting. When's it going to come? And then it comes out of nowhere. You get that big breath. You kind of laugh at yourself. You breathe again and you wait for the tension.
That is interesting how you just broke all that down. Very cool to see that. Well, do you have a scariest movie in your collection? Interestingly,
I think the original Exorcist is probably the scariest horror movie I've ever seen. It is. Now, I'm not saying this sequel is an instant classic. It's not. It's not without its problems. But again, I really think it's a worthy companion piece. Seeing Ellen Burstyn back on the screen in her original role was pretty cool. And as a fan of the first movie, I'll tell you, there's a moment at the end of this movie that's akin to the Iron Man finger snap or the Barbie monologue. The whole audience cheered and applauded. I was right there with them. I won't tell you what it was. But it's definitely worth a 2-hour ride.
All right, a little Easter egg there for you. Thanks so much.
Before we go, knowing your great love for horror movies, I got you a little something suitable for framing for your home or office.
It's going on my desk.
I thought you might enjoy to have that.
I can't wait to go to sleep looking at this every night. That's going to be just perfect. Well, thank you for the gift. I will file it away somewhere so I never have to look at it.
You're quite welcome.
All right, Chip, thanks so much. And stay close. We have much more to come after the break.